Hi guys, I'm back. So now I'm going to go over multiplying a fraction times a fraction. And I'll do that one in a different color, I think. Maybe some orange. So let's start with a problem like 1/3 times 1/3. Let's keep it rather simple. 1/3 times 1/3. Picking up where we left off from our last lesson. So let's use the material for this as well. Obviously this time we're not taking out the whole circles, rather we're taking out the fraction pieces. So we have our 1/3 that we're starting with, and we have to take that 1/3 of a time. Tricky. How will we do that, I wonder? Some of you may have already guessed. We're going to take this 1/3 because if we have to take this 1/3 of a time, that means it has to be broken up into thirds. So, what will fit? Wonder if some of you can guess what these fraction pieces are. Right. 3 of what fraction is equivalent to 1/3? I'll give you some time to think about it. Okay, ready for the answer? 1/9. Well, 3/9, I should say. So 3/9 is equivalent to 1/3. Right? So now we have 3 pieces. Okay? And we have to take our 1/3 of a time. So we're just going to take one of these thirds and get rid of the rest. Here's our answer. 1/9. I want you to look at that problem closely. You may start to notice a pattern as we move on to our next problem. Okay, let's do 2/3 times 2/3. Let's stay in the thirds family. So I'm going to keep 2/3 out. I'm going to write my problem. Two-thirds times 2/3. Well, we have to break up each of these pieces into thirds because we're taking them 2/3 of a time. So we know from our last problem, if we break our 1/3 into 3 different pieces that are all equal, they're actually 9ths, because if we had a whole circle with pieces this size, watch what would happen. Now we're only starting with 2/3, but let me just show you with 3/3 or a whole what this would look like. Right? So if we used all of those, right, 9 of these pieces would be 1 whole. But we're dividing our third into thirds. Right? So think of them as thirds in this case, right? But know that each one is equivalent to 1/9. Okay, so we've got our 2/3 divided into thirds, and we need to take 2/3 from each. Four ninths. Now look at that one closely. Do you notice anything about the numerators, the denominators, and how they relate to the answer? If you don't yet, it's okay. It'll come to you with more practice. So I'm going to put these away, and afterward you can make yourself some multiplication problems with whole numbers and fractions, or fractions multiplied by fractions. If you're using the printable material, you'll find that there are some problems that won't work with the material, but I'll let you discover that on your own. But if you prefer, let's use blue, I'll give you some follow-up as well. So these are for using with the material. However, you can certainly give yourself problems that use higher numbers and they don't require the use of material. So if you're beyond the material already, you can go beyond these. Let me think of some good ones. Give me a moment. Let's try 2/3 times 1/3. Kind of combine our problems there. And let's do 1/2 times 1/2. And then we can do let's do some whole numbers. Let's do 6 times 1/5. So for follow-up with the material, those are your problems, and I'll write. Otherwise, you can come up with your own problems using any numbers.